Hello, are we back?
Yeah,
Thanks. Can I get just like a thumbs up or something from everyone, just so I know everyone's there? Cool, cool, cool. All right, thanks. All right. Did you guys find that interesting? Was that a cool talk?
Yeah, she
yeah, I
seemed
thought it was.
really great.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's incredibly talented. I'm glad she was able to chat with you guys today. Um, okay, cool. So let me share my screen and we're just gonna do a little experiment today, a little live demo. Hopefully it doesn't go awry. Um, and experiment with using ChatGPT, Perplexity, some of these other AI platforms to walk through the process that Julia goes through when it comes to doing user experience design, user interface design for a particular project, like a website or something along those lines. So basically what we're going to do is kind of walk through this slide and see like what we can do, what we can, how we could use some of these tools to kind of help us with this process. So building surveys, doing research on the existing websites, doing research on the existing company or uh, client essentially that we're working with. Figuring out like the interview questions, figuring out who to interview within the organization. So who are some of the thought leaders that we need to talk to gain information around this particular project or website that we're gonna build. Same thing with like workshops. We can ideate different ways of coming up with workshops that we could work with internally for to gain insight from the staff on where the website is doing well and where it's failing, where we could improve it, who the user demographic is, who we need to target for this particular site. Um, we can also play around with using ChatGPT and Perplexity to do research on the existing site, like doing content inventory, building existing site maps for how the current site is currently laid out and the structure of the site. So like the homepage and the secondary pages and the tertiary pages and how those are all linked together. We can do research on the current state journey map, where it's successful, where it's failing, where it could be improved. We could look at doing comparative analysis, so understanding the market that the website is going to be thrown into and the organization is a part of, understanding the competition that we're going to be competing against in the digital space for a website. So similar organizations or similar companies, understanding user demographics. So what's kind of the general demographic of the person that's coming to the website. And then we can get into the design phase and see what tools we can use for wireframing and building a new suggested site map based off of the research and discovery phase that we went through. Talk about the information architecture and where we want it to go based off of the research. We can play around with future state journey mapping, content models. Usability testing is a little more difficult, so I'm not sure if we're going to get there. So this is kind of the two areas that we're going to explore today and play around with Gen AI to help us augment or um, uh, make the process a little bit smoother and quicker. Does that sound good? Make sense? Any
Yeah,
questions? Cool.
Sounds
Thanks.
good.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so I thought it would probably be a good idea to just start with the Queens College website. I know they recently redesigned it, but I still think it's pretty poor and can use a lot of help. So this is gonna be our client essentially. Queens College is gonna be our client, and the goal is to do user experience research and user interface design for this specific website and organization. So the best tools to use based off of my experience when it comes to researching an existing website is ChatGPT and Perplexity are both really great because you can pass in a URL to a website and they can read all the content on the website, look at the design, and then provide you feedback and insight directly in the chat box. So let's create a new chat window in ChatGPT. I'm just going to do it in Perplexity too. Let's create a new thread. So the first thing I want to ask is just to gain understanding of the existing websites and the client that we're working for. So it's a good idea to kind of phrase this in a way for ChatGPT or Perplexity to kind of put themselves in the shoes of a particular role. So I'm going to say act as a user experience designer and researcher. Um, help me develop a user experience and experience and user interface design plan when it comes to redesigning the Queen's College CUNY website. And then I'm going to pass in the URL to the website, copy that, paste it in there. And I'm going to do the same thing and just paste it into ChatGPT. And let's just compare. Let me break this out. Okay. All right. So ChatGPT is developing a step-by-step plan for us. First is defining goals and objectives. Makes sense. So primary goal is enhance user experience by making the site more intuitive, accessible, and aligned with user needs. Gives us some objectives to simplify the navigation, improved accessibility, update visual design. Makes sense to me. Step two is user research and analysis. So create students, identify user groups, so current students, prospective students, faculty and staff, alumni, parents and guardians, community partners. Conduct research, so we have surveys, user interviews, website analytics, which unfortunately we don't have access to, but that's okay. Competitor analysis, user personas, so creating detailed personas, user demographic stuff, makes sense. Information architecture, so we do a content audit of the existing content, look at relevance, accuracy, and gaps, sitemaps, card sorting. What's that? Conduct card sorting sessions to understand how users categorize content. Okay, makes sense. User flows. So perspective, use student journey and how they go from one step to the next. Current student journey, how they go from one step to the next. Makes sense. Wireframes, prototyping, visual design, development, testing, launch, ongoing improvements. Yeah, so we're just going to focus on everything up to like 4 today, I think. But I think generally that's very similar to what um, Julia's process is, breaking it down to discovery, design, and development, essentially. Perplexity, let's see. So we have user research phase, conduct surveys, interviews, personas, user journey maps, competitive analysis, content audit, all very similar here. Planning and strategy, information architecture, user flow optimization, design phase, visual designs, homepage redesigns. Let's see, sitemap. Kind of skipped over the wireframing bit, which is interesting. I just went straight to the visual designs. Um, so yeah, Perplexity, I think should include some sort of wireframing aspect here, which it's not. Um, but generally speaking, it's fairly accurate. Cool. All right. So moving forward, let's just stick with ChatGPT. Perplexity is definitely a good option too. So if you wanted to experiment with that, then by all means go for it. But for now, let's just kind of stick with one platform to avoid confusion. Okay. So this is great. Can you help me with each one of these steps? Let's let's start with doing an audit of the current Queens College CUNY website. I'm just going to add the website, oops, again here, URL, so it can check it out. Um, can you provide me with insight into the existing site as well as provide me a high level sitemap of the pages on the existing website? So also I'm using ChatGPT 4.0. So this is the one that's available in the free version. Uh, I also recommend to use O1 preview if you're able to. That's part of the paid version, which does a bit more like reasoning, and kind of rather than just spitting out an answer, it gives you the answer, but also gives you an explanation of how it got to that answer. So I think this is a better model to use for something like this, and pretty much most use cases. But since I don't want you to have to pay for it, we're gonna stick with the version 4.0. All right, let's see what it came up with. So we asked for it to do an audit of the current site. So here are some high-level insights on the current site and navigation structure. The main navigation is extensive, covering key sections like academics, admissions, student life, faculty and staff, and research. The site seems to have a deep hierarchy. Okay, accessibility. Site includes critical accessibility features such as screen reader capability. Okay. Content on the website contains a wealth of information, but it can be open for users, particularly for those new to the site. Information is spread across numerous pages, often requiring multiple clicks. Got it. Makes sense. And here's just a high-level site map of the existing site. So it's always a good idea just to double check ChatGPT. So I like to go back and just make sure that that is accurate, just for anything that's of importance. So on the homepage, we have key links, admissions, academics, student life, news, and events. Admissions, academics, student life, news, and events is I don't see that. Um, okay, let's double check. So those are, okay, key links. So that's not necessarily all of them. So academics, admissions, student life, academics, admissions, student life, faculty and staff, faculty, staff, research, and administration. Oh, okay. All right. So it's not really 100% accurate because it's missing some key links like about QC, current students, future students. I want to see parents on there, or visitors or alumni. So there's some information on that's not listed on here. So that's just a good example of that ChatGPT is good for some things, but there's going to be potential errors in the output. So you always have to double check and proof it, especially when it comes to like fact-based information. Um, so just make sure you don't that you're taking everything it outputs with a grain of salt, and that you have to review what it's outputting and not just copying and pasting, but take it as like a guide or like a first step or first iteration. All right. I was kind of explaining itself down here. The site contains many additional pages and sections within these top level categories, including separate page for special programmings, honors. Okay, sort of. It still isn't 100% accurate. Recommendations for the audit process, conduct a content inventory, okay, user flows, accessibility review, usability testing. Okay, cool. All right, so not great, but not terrible. Um, just out of curiosity, are you able to help? Sorry, able to help when it comes to analytics around traffic and demographics who are currently coming to the website. So it's unlikely because most analytics are behind a login page. So like Google, I'm sure there's Google Analytics, like Google Search Console. All these platforms are used for collecting analytics on a website. But because it's behind a login page, we don't have access to that. Um, there is, I mean, yeah, so yeah, we don't have access to that, and neither does ChatGPT. So if we did have access to it, then have it analyze the data, better understand like who's coming to the site, when they're coming to the site, if they're visiting it on certain months out of the year, like in the summer when, or maybe the spring when students are thinking about applying to colleges. That's probably when you get more of a spike and when it comes to potential incoming students. But so all that information is really helpful to know and understand and analyze. But unfortunately, we don't have access to that, so we're gonna move on. Okay. Um, so the next thing, let's try and put together questions for a survey that we can send out to like existing students, maybe potential students, maybe high school students, maybe existing faculty and staff, that we can gain more insight into how they're using the website and where it's successful and where it's could be improved. Um, so let's see. Are you able to help me put together their questions and answer options for a survey to be sent out to faculty, students, and staff um, to gain more insights around how how they use the site, where it's successful and where it could be improved. Cool. So it's outputting survey. So general information about the respondents. That's good. We need to know if they're students, faculty, staff, or alumni. Website usage, so understanding how they currently use the website, also very helpful. And then feedback on the site experience, so where it's successful currently, where they're having some issues and some challenges, and um, suggestions on how it could be improved. Um, so yeah, let's see, general information. So just simple questions about who you are, website usage. So it's a pretty basic form, which makes sense, but obviously it's not clickable. We can't send it out anywhere. Open-ended text box. So some things to consider, survey logic. So you could tailor the survey based off of the user responses, like if they're student versus faculty. When they answer that question, it could take them down one path or another with different questions that are more specifically designed for either a student or a faculty member. This is always a good idea. When it comes to surveys, it's very hard to get a high percentage of people actually filling them out. So if you can keep it as short as possible, um, like 10 to 15 questions is probably a good number. It really increases the probability that students and faculty and really anyone is going to actually take the time to sit down and fill out the survey. Other ways that you can encourage participants to fill out a survey is offering incentives. So sometimes you um, have, I don't know, like a raffle or something that you get $100 gift card to Amazon or like an iPad or something like that. And if you submit the form, then you get entered into the raffle and then you could potentially win something. So I don't like doing this just because in my opinion, there's ethical questions around it, basically like bribing people to fill out the survey. But yeah, that's another thing that you could do. So this is great, but it doesn't really help us when it comes to sending it out and filling out a survey. So there's different tools you could use, like Google Forms is probably the most common one to fill out a survey and send it out and share it. Obviously, it's a little irritating to have to go and like input these into Google Forms one by one. So let's ask ChatGPT. Can you, let's say thank you. This is great. Can you put this into a Google form for me to share? Okay, so it can't automatically do it, but it's telling us how we can do it. Okay, I don't want to do this manually. Let's stop that and say, um, can you help me automate the process of adding the questions and answers to a Google form? Okay. It's giving us a script to do that. Okay, I know a better alternative. This will probably work. Uh, let's see. Oh, let's try this. Let's see if this works first. Okay, let's have it finish. Okay, cool. So let's copy the code. So we go to Google Sheets, click on Extensions, App Scripts. Delete any existing code in the scripts editor and paste the following. Okay. I'm gonna create a new form. Now let's go to Scripts, Script Editor. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so paste that code in there and run the script. Let's name this QC survey form. Okay, and then let's run it. Review permissions. Okay, I'm gonna agree to the permissions that gives access to my Google Drive. All right, so execution started. Okay, it looks like this is the form link. Let's try it. Ah, voila. And then the form is created for us automatically, which is very cool. So this alone saves a ton of time because inputting these form fields one by one is very painful. Um, so that is pretty great. I use a different process too. There's a plugin called Form Builder that you can have ChatGPT export a CSV file, and then you can upload that CSV data file to Form Builder, and it'll build the form for you. So that's just that's a little trick to automatically generate a form for your surveys using ChatGPT. In this case, it's generating code, a little script that you can run in your app script and Google Drive. But there's another option that you can use a plugin and export this as a data file. But this worked great. Cool. So now we have a form that we can then share and send to ideally all of, Queens College students and faculty and staff and have them fill it out and then gain insight from the information that they input into the form. Cool. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay. Hmm. Okay. So next thing we want to do is um, ask for it to. This sometimes it's challenging to figure out who some of the internal stakeholders are, like who you need to talk to. So in this case, like what professors should I talk to? What staff members should I talk to? What students should I talk to when I do like informational interviews? So let's just ask ChatGPT, see if they can provide us with a list. So can you also provide me with a list of internal stakeholders at Queens College, CUNY that I can talk to? Please include their name, title, contact information, and reasons why they would be good to talk to for this project. Cool. So it gave me some suggestions. Oh, these seem pretty good actually. It also links to has little footnotes of where it found this information, which is helpful based off of looking at the Queen's College website. So these are great. The Chief Diversity Officer, Dean of Diversity, International Advancement Executive Director, Queen's College Foundation, Budget and Finance, W Chair Librarian, President obviously is a good one, Head of the Queen's College Makerspace, Science Librarian. Yeah, I think these are all really great. Awesome. So let's ask ChatGPT if they can help us formulate some interview questions. You help me put together some interview questions to ask these stakeholders. Oh, that's cool. It has questions and follow-up questions that we could ask too. That's helpful. It's also separating it by department, it looks like, and like title. Because obviously, depending on who you're talking to, it makes more sense to ask different questions if you're talking to someone like HR versus like budget versus the president, versus students and faculty. So that's helpful to have specific questions to ask to specific people. All right. So uh, obviously, it's always better, and you should conduct these interviews with the individuals themselves. But just as a thought experiment, I think it might be fun to ask ChatGPT to put itself in their shoes and answer the questions on their behalf. So let's see what some of the answers are. Can you put yourself into their shoes and answer the questions based on what you think they would say? Okay. Let's just look at a couple of them. So, Chief Diversity Officer. So, goals, priorities for the website. The website should reflect Queen College commitment to diversity and inclusion, not only in content, but in user experience. It's critical to ensure ADA compliance, offering an accessible navigation and content that represents diverse voices and stories. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. Sounds like something that that person would say. Breaks it down as challenges and serving underrepresented groups. Let's see, institutional advancement, executive director. The website should enhance engagement with alumni and donors. It's a storytelling tool that can show the impact of donations and foster a deep connection with the college. I mean, these are all make sense when it comes to the responses based off of the titles and kind of the area of focus that they are in. So I don't think these are wrong, but they are very canned. They're kind of expected responses. So again, this is just a thought experiment. You should try this in real life. You should obviously meet with these people, ask these questions, and get their responses, face to face or on Zoom, because you're always going to get little interesting responses, and you also can read their mannerisms and kind of gauge their uh, tone of voice as well. So there's a lot of different things and nuances that you could pick up during interviews rather than like through a survey, for example. Cool. Um, All right. All right, let's ask ChatGPT to create the current um, state user flow and see what that comes up with. Generate the current state user flow for the Queen's College CUNY website. That's interesting. It's generating an image based off of that request. Two images. So obviously this isn't great. So it's giving you like the pathway that a potential user could go through. Um, these are like diagrams, looking at different pathways for academics, admission, student life, faculty and staff, research and administration. So that's not all that useful, but it's kind of interesting. Um, can you create a current state user flow for a Queens College CUNY prospective student for the website? See what it comes up with for that. Okay, another image. Okay, not helpful. Okay, let's ask another question. Let's rephrase this. Okay, can you create a current student user flow for Queens College prospective student for the website using Python? So another great thing about ChatGPT is that it can generate code. We're going to talk about that next week, but it can generate code, especially in Python, to create like visual diagrams as well. So let's see if it is able to do that with this. Oh, that's not bad. Okay, so we have the home page, and they go to explore admissions, and then admissions to program of study or financial aid, which totally makes sense. Program of study goes to admissions requirements, and then to apply now also makes sense. Financial aid goes to request info, and then to apply now. And then apply now, we have complete application form and submit application. There's also from Explore Admissions, we have campus life, campus tours, and then apply now. So these are all the possible user flows that a prospective student can go through when it comes to going through the current website that is currently laid out. So it's not bad. I think you probably want to eliminate some of these steps to get to the apply now section, but it's not bad. It makes sense. You have to learn about the program first, and then, from that you can apply or not. Um, but this is definitely much more helpful than just a simple AI generated image, which this is random stuff like click, 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 search. That's not helpful. But understanding the flow from the home page to the secondary and tertiary pages and how prospective student can get to the submit an application section is very helpful. Um, okay. Okay. Why don't we so that's all basically the discovery process. Why don't we get into the design process when it comes to like based off of all the information that we've collected. Actually, sorry, I skipped over. Let's check out the competitors too. So can you do a competitive audit looking at a number of similar organizations to Queens College, CUNY, and see how they compare how their websites compare to Queen's College CUNY's website. Okay. Any questions while this is processing? You guys following, or am I going too fast, or still there?
Yeah, I think you're going fine.
Okay. Thanks. I want to make sure I'm not just speaking into the void, and not going too fast. So. All right, so this is a competitive audit looking at some of the other schools that are and organizations that are related to Queens College. So obviously CUNY schools like Baruch and Brooklyn College would probably be, I guess, competitors of Queens College. And secondarily, there's SUNY schools, also, kind of in that same world. Usability, accessibility. So it's comparing essentially just SUNY and CUNY, which is kind of interesting. Um, okay, this is great. This makes sense. This is great. But can you also look at um, other schools uh, for comparison, like NYU, SVA, Columbia, etc. But I think it's good to look at, within the public school system, CUNY, SUNY, but I think it's also probably a good idea to look at like some of the private schools too for comparison, see how they're differentiating themselves from kind of like a public university, where they might be more successful when it comes to recruiting or recruiting students or recruiting faculty. So I think those are worth looking at too. So I think it's helpful to look at CUNY and SUNY, but I would expand that as well. Um, so it looks at like user flow, engagement, accessibility, and design, search functionality. Okay. All right. So based on all of the above information, can you provide me with suggestions on how we could improve the uh, let's see, information architecture, architecture, information architecture. What else? Sitemap, um, content, uh, design of the Queens College CUNY website to meet the goals um, suggested or covered in our uh, research. Okay, information architecture, suggested sitemap. Cool. Admissions, academic, student life, faculty and staff, alumni. So add virtual tour and event calendars. Oh, that's a good suggestion. Dynamic filtering for programs and events. So just make it a little bit more accessible and searchable. Makes sense. Content strategy, highlight user stories, makes it more personal. Content for specific audiences. So I guess create specific user flows for prospective students, current students, faculty, and staff. Improve the SEO and accessibility. Makes sense. Design enhancements. So modern visual design, use a clean, responsive layout with strong visuals, similar to the creative approach at SBA and Columbia. Um, okay, so modernize the design and color palettes for more high quality images and videos. So just better content, essentially. Interactive elements, add features like application progress trackers. Oh, that's a good idea. Financial ad calculators, also a good idea. Interactive campus maps, also fabulous idea. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think all these ideas and concepts are very valid and take essentially based off of the research, take the more successful aspects of like the CUNY, other SUNY, NYU, Columbia, SVA websites and kind of blends that together and the best possible user experience and visual design for the Queens College website. Um, so yeah, so I think all that is really great suggestions too. Um, okay, so I am a very visual person, so I'm gonna ask, can you create a um, diagram of the um, suggested sitemap for the new website in a visual format? So let's see what I wasn't very specific with how to create. Okay, so it's going to generate an image, which is fine. It's probably not going to be all that useful, but let's let it load and take a look at it. Yeah, not very useful. All right, let's try the Python trick. Um, so let's say, can you create a diagram of the suggested sitemap for a new website for the new website in visual format using Python? So again, it's going to code something using Python as the programming framework, and then show you the visual outputs from that code. Okay, that's okay. It's still not very. I like it to be clean with like homepage at the top, then secondary pages and tertiary pages. So I'm gonna try one more thing. So because it can write code, and because Adobe Illustrator, you can write code for those platforms for all the Adobe products. I'm going to ask it to write some code for a plugin for Adobe Illustrator. So again, we're going to jump into code generation next week, but I think it's helpful to do that here too. Okay, can you create a diagram of the suggested sitemap for the new website in a visual format by generating code uh, to run in Adobe Illustrator? Okay, let me open Adobe Illustrator. Okay, cool. Generating code. So this is just all the data for all the different pages. This is just writing all the different nodes with different colors to represent different sections. These are all the connections, so how one page is connected to the other, to the next. And this is just drawing the lines from one node, like homepage to admissions, homepage to academics, down there. So I'm gonna copy that code. I'm just gonna open in a text editor, like Sublime Text Edit. Okay, and then paste it in there and save it as a, let's just call it sitemap QC, and then you just gotta save it as a JSX file and save it to the desktop. So this is basically all JavaScript too. So if you're familiar with JavaScript, then that's what's going on there. And then in Adobe Illustrator, go to File and Scripts and Other Scripts. Go to find that. Here we go. And let's see if it works. Sort of. So it definitely generated it, but the colors aren't right. So something's wrong. But just for show you an example of one that's working better, I created one yesterday. See if that works a little better. Okay. Okay, a little better. At least the color and the format's better. Homepage at the top, secondary pages, and then tertiary pages down below. So it's still funky. It still needs a lot of cleanup, but it generated it pretty well. But obviously you need to make some refinements. So this one isn't as good, but you can go back in and tell ChatGPT that this isn't what you're looking for. Can you make improvements on it? But again, we're going to talk about code generation next week. Okay. Um, all right. So we have a sitemap a new sitemap suggested by ChatGPT. So let's ask to see if it could generate some wireframes for us. So can you generate some wireframes? Let's just do the homepage for the new homepage designs for the Queen's College CUNY website based on all of the research you conducted above. All right, generating another image is not very helpful. Yeah, looks bad. Doesn't really help us. So let's try Python again. Say, please use Python. Okay. Okay. So it looks bad, but it generated a visual that, is a wireframe. It's just stacked on top of each other, but and it's not formatted or designed. Um, so let's try a different method. Let's say, okay, can you generate a mid-journey text to image prompt for me to generate wireframes for the new Queen's College CUNY website. All right, let's try that. Okay. Okay. Pretty generic. That's fine. Again, we're just exploring and playing here. So let's just copy that. And I'm going to go to, I like Midjourney better when it comes to image generation. So here, let's just go start. So I'm going to just add this as a prompt. I'm going to change the aspect ratio here to be, I don't know, 7:11. So it's kind of vertical like a website. Let's see what it creates. Okay. Any questions while this loads?
Are we gonna do something like this for homework?
Yeah, basically.
Got it.
Hmm. All right. I mean, these are more like designs, but they're not bad. They're not good, but they're not bad. Some of them, are more like they kind of look like mood boards versus like wireframes or final designs. Um, or just like product shots. Well, this one's okay. Again, more design like. Another thing that you could do is like if you find, let's say we want to use this as a guide, you could say, okay, let's save this image as. So if you just like Google like wireframes to kind of get the look and feel, um, and we'll just call this wireframe example. Okay, and then we could go through ChatGPT and say, okay, let's add this image, let's upload this image and say, this is the style I am looking for when it comes to generating the mid-journey image. Please refine the mid-journey prompt to have the output be closer to this example here. So this looks more like a wireframe. This is kind of what I was looking for. So we could ask it to analyze that image based off that analysis, give us a better prompt for Midjourney. I don't know if it's going to do a good job, but let's give it a shot. Let's try again. Oops, sorry. Let's do the aspect ratio. Or 7:11. Usually when you change the aspect ratio to be more vertical, then it gets a little bit more appropriate. A bit more appropriate. If it's square, that format isn't very, website-y. So when you do a vertical aspect ratio, then it becomes a little bit more accurate to what we're looking for. This one looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like a wireframe. It doesn't look good, but and then in Midjourney you can upscale, so it's a larger image. There's creative and subtle. I'm just gonna click creative to upscale it. So it just creates a higher res image, and it gets a little bit more creative with it rather than upscaling it um, exactly the same. All right. So this looks better. I think this is probably usable. Okay. Okay, cool. So that looks good. So I'm gonna download this. It's fine. Um, and then so there's two platforms I want to show you beyond ChatGPT for wireframing and design. So one is Figma. That's a pretty commonly used by everyone software that designers use and UX designers use to create wireframes and final designs. But there's another one that is more geared towards um, generative AI. So this one's called Uizard, and it has a lot of AI features, which is kind of cool. So let's create a new screen. So you can create an empty screen, you can generate one with AI. You can scan wireframes or scan a screenshot. So let's try both of them. Let's do a screenshot and wireframes, and you can scan a sketch too, which is kind of cool. So I have a sketch here. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. So I did this, took a picture of it, and then we could upload it to Uizard and see how it translates it into um, uh, a usable layout in their platform. So let's try that. So we're going to do wireframe. That's more like mobile. Upload the photo. It's going to analyze it. And then it's going to take the sketch, which is really cool. It's just a hand-drawn sketch that I took a picture of, and then use it as an inspiration for designing a layout. And then I can place it on the canvas. You zoom in, and going from that sketch to this isn't bad. I mean, it has a header at the top, image here. Let's just open that again for comparison. Um, thumbnails here, some text, a header text there, body copy there, and then some, icons at the bottom for navigational purposes or maybe contact information or something like that. So taking this and scanning a hand done sketch and bringing it into this editable format here is pretty impressive. Um, versus doing it all, manually, going from Sketch to something like this or Figma. The other thing that we could do is like a screenshot. So let's try the output that we got from Midjourney. So that's more of a desktop. I'm gonna upload it. So is it this one? Yeah, I think it's yeah, that one. So it just takes some time to process, but and also ideally you wouldn't be outputting, you wouldn't be outputting directly from Midjourney and then plugging it into this platform. You would maybe use Midjourney for inspiration when it comes to the wireframes or design. But ultimately, you would probably do that a little bit more manually or um, and then upload an image or do a sketch and then upload an image and then use that as a starting point. Um, because obviously this is just, it's based off of simple text prompt and it doesn't have all the nuance from the research that we did uh, for the discovery process. All right, so let's see if that works. Place on canvas. Yeah, so that looks okay. So it separated all the elements into individual elements, which is pretty good. All the images are different. The placement's all the same, the layout's the same, the color is the same. Um, so it's decent, but there's a lot of, cleanup that you have to do. So this also has a generate with AI option. So let's say, okay, um, create a mobile create wireframes for a mobile website for Queens College CUNY, which is a public um, college in Queens, New York. Yeah, you could probably pass more uh, sure, creative exploration. You could probably pass more specific content based off of the research and the discovery phase that we received. But I'm not sure how much information you could pass into this to generate a usable output. But I think you could probably generate something that is a good starting point and then modify it and tweak it uh, to get from like 80% to 100%. So it gives you a couple options. I don't know why it's not displaying them here, but I don't know. Let's just do one. I don't see it. Okay. All right. So I don't know, maybe it's still loading or maybe it's not working, um, but yeah. So those are some options when it comes to using this platform called Uwizard. It's like a freemium model, so it's free to use up to a point, and then you have to pay beyond that point. Just like Figma, Figma's the same too. It's freemium model, so you can use Figma for free up to a point, and then you have to start paying if you start creating like too many artboards or something. So speaking of Figma, let's just go to Figma and check out some of the tools that they have. So Figma is great and it's used by everyone in the industry for the most part. And they have the ability to add some of like custom plugins and widgets. Some plugins have AI associated with it. Like Wireframe Designer is just like what UWizard does. It's based off of just text prompts and then it generates wireframes for you based off of those text prompts. Coda is just like UWizard when it comes to uploading an image and then analyzing that image and then taking those assets and laying it out in a editable format. Um, and then also Figma is creating their own AI features, which are currently in testing. I've been trying to become a beta tester, but haven't been accepted yet. But there's lots of really great tools that they're going to be releasing. Like First Draft is going to replace that plugin where you could say, okay, generate this app for me, create a first draft for a website for the Queen's College website, and I'll output it like this, and you can edit it, tweak it. Um, there's it's basically like AI can auto-generate content for you based off of example content that you already have. It can clean things up for you. So I don't know if you're when you're using like Illustrator, InDesign, and have like or Photoshop and have all these layers, and it's just like layer one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and it's unlabeled and hard to navigate. And that's another thing that Figma will automatically do for you. Um, Prototyping is another thing that they're gonna add AI to as well. Gen AI for images, automatically remove backgrounds. So there's lots of really cool stuff that's coming down the pipe that isn't currently available to the masses, but it's coming soon. But with the plugins that we have now available now, we could still do stuff like that. So this is a wireframe designer plugin for Figma. This is the Coda one, which scans a screenshot or scans a photo and then automatically creates that using assets in Figma. So it does that for you, which is pretty cool. So let's play around with one of them in the interest of time. So let's just do the wireframe designer in Figma. So let's do a desktop version. Say design or create wireframes for a for the Queen's College CUNY website. Just keep it simple. Obviously, you would want to put like specifically what links you want to have in the navigation, what content you want to have in like the featured section, if you want to have like quotes or pullouts or data visualizations or maps or user login, stuff like that. So you could get more specific with it. Most likely, I haven't really gone too far with it, but but yeah, this is what it generated, and it's all fully editable. Um, and you can say, okay, this is awesome. Uh, and it's using like auto layout, which is a great feature in Figma. So if I wanted to do like instead of three here, I could say, okay, let's just do another one here, and it'll auto format. Let's say I don't like the orientation of this. I don't want latest news to be at the top. You can click and drag, but it gives you a pretty solid starting point based off of a simple text prompt, which is really awesome. But obviously, based off of the research that we did during the discovery process, these aren't the main links that we want to have. So you'd have to update that and tweak it. The user flow obviously needs to be considered and like how like a prospective student is going to go from the home page to ultimately submitting an application. Um, but this is a really solid starting point. This is really great. And then you just modify it and tweak it rather than starting from nothing. You're starting from like I'd say 75, 80% of where you want to be. Um, but yeah, and again, it's only going to get better and easier and more accurate. And you'll be able to pass in more data to have it, put in the right content where you want it to. But this is pretty awesome. So enough with my rambling. You guys have any thoughts, questions, queries? Are you still there? You still awake? Did I lose you like an hour ago?
I'm alive.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Um, any questions? What do you guys think of using like ChatGPT for the discovery process and playing around with like these text to wireframe prompt tools and building a website and wireframes and at least a portion of it in like seconds. Thoughts, concerns, queries.
I'm not particularly interested in anything having to do with a website. I took a web design class or yeah, and I remember doing like the coding
Mhm.
to place an element on a website and then you had to constantly refresh the page to see the result and
Yeah.
make buttons and all that.
Mhm.
I did not find that fun at all. Uh,
Got it.
so like if you showed me this back then, I'd be like, this is great. But I wonder if uh if it's a scary site or like a cool site for someone who actually wants to do that.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I think what I'm trying to do in this class is cover the different ways that are underneath the umbrella of design and how we can use AI, Gen AI, to help augment and help with those processes and creative process for each one of those. So we talked about like illustration and image generation, talked about communication design. This is more interaction design focused. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about animation and video generation. Um, so I don't expect everyone to be interested in every specific area, but I think it's good to cover what you can do with these tools and this technology um, with each one of those pathways that is underneath the design umbrella at Queens College.
I'm
Cool.
interested in seeing that animation because I haven't done it myself. I've just seen it on the internet.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's pretty wild and it's just getting more and more crazy like each and every day. Um, like I well again we'll talk about this in a couple weeks, but the platform Runway ML just released this model where you can upload a source video of like someone talking and then a source image, whether that's one you shot or AI generated, and then it'll animate the facial expressions and the lip movements to the video, reference video that you're uploading, which is pretty crazy. So it's just makes it a lot easier for you to create animations based off of an actor's um, video of them acting out what the claymation model would be doing or saying. So it's pretty nuts. So that should be a fun one to explore. Cool. Any questions? Other questions? Okay. Um, all right. So let's just take a like 3 minute, 4 minute bio break. And then when we come back, I think Julia is going to present her revised midterm. Um, does that sound good?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's just meet back here at like 5, couple minutes.